evening, and welcome to the National Board of Education Policy Committee. Tonight is Tuesday, August 19th. It is 6:04 p.m., and I am calling this meeting to order. We have myself, Heather Raymond. We have Mr. Johnson. Ms. Lampier was here previously, but we sent her home because she sounds sick. And we have Mr. Posca. So that is a quorum. Great. Welcome, everybody. So last month, we talked about cell phones, and I saw that the cell phone policy was posted on social media. I saw emails that came home to parents. I got an email just about that, and then this week I also got a welcome back to school letter from North that had it again in that letter. So I feel like the district is doing a really good job at pushing that information out. So thank you, Mr. Posca.
Thank you.
One thing I did want to ask is if we can put on our agenda for October a check-in, right? So after the first month of school, it'll be about 6 or 8 weeks of school when we meet in October, just to hear some feedback. I know the teachers have so much on their plates, but if tweaks need to happen, I'd rather know sooner than later. Does that work for you?
Yeah, I think it will give us at least how we started the school, where we're going, and kind of some of the next steps. So I'll mention that to Dr. Andre. I think might be something that might be appropriate for a full board update.
Yeah, I would say here, if there's something that's really not working and it needs to be changed, but if it's just an update, hey, people have mostly settled in, then I would say the full board.
Okay.
I just don't want to roll something so drastically different out and then not follow up on it, right away. I know Milford is working on theirs this week, which is
wow, cutting it close.
really late. And I think Sauhegan just finished theirs too this month. So we're not alone. But it will be interesting to hear whether or not we did a good job or not.
Yeah, I'll be very interested to hear from teachers, like what teachers are thinking of
Right.
how it's working for them in the classroom. And
Right, because I know a lot of them have expressed, I'm not talking to the thing, a lot of them expressed some nervousness about nervousness isn't the right word, but concerns about the extra step we added of contacting parents. And I don't want that to be something that takes away from their job actually educating our students.
Yep.
So, all right, I got that off my list because I knew I would forget otherwise. So what we have for our agenda tonight is all of the other stuff we didn't get to in July, and then a couple new things. Mr. Posca, I know we have them in order with July's stuff first and then the new stuff second. Are you comfortable going that way, or do you feel like the other stuff is more time sensitive, so if we run out of time, we should do it first?
I think we can probably get through. I mean,
Okay.
If you want to take it out with us, fine, but I think everything is going to be pretty self-explanatory. At least I'm hoping it's going to be.
Well, I guess we will see. All right, wait, hold on. I need to have two things open here. All right, so the first one I have is policy BBAA, which is board member authority. And so we just updated this one last year or the year before. It hasn't been that long. 2023, I think.
Yes, I think in June of 2022.
Oh, yep, I'm looking at the wrong one. So June of 2022. So I guess it hasn't been that long. But the State Board of Education updated the Ed 306s, which are the laws that govern the minimum standards for public education. And so based on that, we have completely replaced the first paragraph and expanded it significantly. I don't think it really changes our practice much, though.
no, it doesn't seem to.
I think it just removed some of the redundancies that may have been in there previously. And just to, I think Ms. Raymond mentioned this at the previous meeting, but NHSBA has come up with a significant amount of legislations that impact some of the policies. So over the next coming meetings, there's several that we need to update. This is one of the ones that came out in the late spring that they recommended, that they had updated, and they recommended that we make that, those updates as well. So as Ms. Raymond and I meet, we're trying to chip away at that list to make sure we're staying on top of them. But I think there were about 25 that we have to get to from the spring updates, and then there's several more from some summer updates. So there's a lot of work ahead of us with a lot of these policies.
Yes, and frankly, thank goodness for the NHSBA, because we still have to compare theirs to what we have and look at other things, but it's a time saver for sure. All right, so on board member authority, BBAA, I just want to highlight that the new policy expands where we say that we can't take any action on our own, but it's very clear that each board member is an individual. We do not supervise staff in the district, and whatever we say, like on social media or out in the community, is representative of our own personal beliefs, not the position of the board, unless the board has made a motion that is the board's position. So that's, I think, really what the Ed 306 is we're trying to get at. So having said that, I move that we approve BBAA as presented this evening.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, so that passes. All right, the next one is BBA-R, which is our school board powers and duties appendix. In this case, I don't have any changes.
No, I think based upon the updates that we made with BBAA, the recommendation is to rescind BBA-R.
Oh.
Because of the redundancies in both of these, so.
Got it.
We've updated BBAA, so based upon that, I think there's a lot of redundancies with this one, so the recommendation is to rescind this current policy.
Oh, thank you. I flipped my page from my cheat sheet that says rescind. Oh, no. Yeah, I did. All right, so I move that we rescind BBA-R.
Second.
Okay? Any discussion on it?
No, it's pretty straightforward that we're taking it out because of what we have with BBAA.
All right, great.
Seems everything's covered.
I wrote 3-0 on the last vote because it's always 3. All right, all in favor of rescinding BBA-R, say aye.
Aye.
All right, great. So the next one, oh, it's out of order from last month. That's why I'm confused. The next one is BGAA. This is our policy on policy. And there are some significant changes on the second and third pages. And so we're eliminating where it says the board will allow opportunity for public comment on policy proposals per policy. Wait, it's crossed out and then it's the same thing.
It adds the per board policy BEDH,
Yeah, it's the same as
which is what we
before.
had before.
It's just better grammar.
Yeah,
All right, great, let's go with that.
it's more concise.
So the addition is they've changed, our previous F was suspension of the policy process, and the School Board Association has tweaked that language to minor revisions by policy committee. And so if we have a policy that we're reviewing and we're making, there's typos or grammatical changes, it doesn't have to go to the full board to approve those typos. We just have to take note that we have done that. And I think that makes sense. We can send it to the full board, but we shouldn't have to. So, and I think not a lot, I think that there are times when we update a policy, it's just job title changes.
Correct.
So, so I like that. And then they've renamed everything, like renumbered everything. So the next section is policy dissemination records and manual updates. And then, so it's interesting. Do we have this twice in here? policy dissemination records and manual updates. And then we have the new kind of spread out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of just 2. But then the next section is the same. I think what we want to do is replace, instead of where it says H, I think we don't want that whole section, and we just want the new red G.
Yeah, I see what you're, right, it's repeating.
It's repetitive.
Ms. Raymond, just one of the things that we talked about, I'm looking over on the notes from our meeting, is we wanted to replace H in the NHSBA policy and put it in there, and because it was more alignment, so basically we're moving some things down.
Right, but the red is the same.
Yes, I think it was
I think that's a typo.
Yeah, like
that
number
is,
one.
But I think we might want to keep G, which is crossed out. So FG, suspension of policy process, got crossed out in this draft, where it says the board may amend written policies at any meeting by a majority vote of board members in attendance, provided there was notice. And then on matters of expected, unusual or unexpected urgency, the board may waive the second meeting. I think we still need that section in there because that's what we did for the cell phone bill, right? Because it was
Correct.
urgent. So I think that what we need to do is return G, suspension of policy process, and then add all of that red under H instead of the black. Does that make sense?
yes, it does.
So the motion is to return section G on suspension of policy process. I think that's just the equivalent of a typo. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch that last month. Or I did and I wrote it down and I forgot that I had done that. And replace the black, I'm gonna call it the black H, but I'm talking about the color of the type in my packet.
Yep,
I'm gonna write that down, typeface. With red numbers 1 through 5, currently under G. In the draft, with the heading should be there, policy dissemination, et cetera.
correct. And that should include all 5 of them as opposed to what the 4 that are currently listed.
Yeah, so the
Just right
motion
above
is
it.
to return section G, suspension of policy process, and replace the black H typeface with red numbers 1 through 5 currently under G in the draft.
Right.
And then head it policy dissemination, et cetera.
Yes.
Hopefully that makes sense to Ms. Kinsella and anyone else who has this in front of them. Any other changes?
I think it's all, so I'm just trying to, since it was, what's the additional, like, because we went from 4 to 5.
So the additional one is,
Really, the big piece is about adding things onto the website, the policies and procedures, making sure they're listed on the website.
yes, it's number 2. So
2.
the red number 2 is not included in the black. And I think that this is something that was added to the 306s because some districts didn't have their policies on websites.
Right.
But we have had our policies on websites for
a
I don't know, 10, 15 years or something. It's been a long time. But then there should still be a hard copy in the superintendent's office. So, I don't know where the number 4 here in the red, which is pretty much the same. Oh, see, we had, it's just rewritten. We had up-to-date policy manual on the district website in a different place before, and the School Board Association has it
As it is a different.
as its own bullet. It's fine. I wonder where the superintendent keeps all of the copies of everything over time.
be a
Like, is there
mighty
like a
big,
massive file cabinet going back to like the 60s or 50s with all of our stuff? Okay, so I move to approve policy BGAA as we just discussed this evening.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 2-0. Okay. Now, IHCD, which is advanced coursework, advanced placement courses. So this one, again, is something that had a number of changes thanks to the revisions to the Ed 306s. A lot of it is the same. But the language proposed by the School Boards Association is a little bit clearer and easier to understand. It also talks about the dual and concurrent enrollment program, which we had before, but the Ed 306s changed that program, so it's not just at the local community college. Theoretically, students can ask to take courses at a different public school or a private school or VLAX, right? Right. So theoretically, if we offer a class, an AP, say, I don't even know, like AP underwater robotics or something, and, Sauhegan does not, those students can request to take it here. By law now, instead of just through, previously we had agreements between school districts.
And it doesn't just, not only does it involve school districts, but it would be if there was a community college or something like that through NCC or something like that. So in addition to what just Ms. Raymond just said.
Yep. So, and I do know students who have done that, who have concurrently enrolled at Nashua Community College, and so they're well on their way to their associate's degree by the time they finish high school, which can be very cost-effective for families.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Any questions or concerns about this one?
No questions or concerns.
Okay, so this policy does reference IKFD, which is about career exploration and job readiness, and that's our next one, so good. All right, so I move to approve policy IHCD as presented this evening.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay.
And that one hadn't been updated in a while, huh? 2018 was the
Yes.
last.
So I think that the Ed 306s are updated every 10 years. So, IKFG is not a policy that we had previously because all of the information that was incorporated in IFKG about career exploration, readiness, pathways, and credentials, we had embedded in IHCD.
Okay.
But not all of these details, right? So we really only talked about an IHCD, our high school students, but IKFD talks a little bit more about introducing career exploration all the way at the elementary school and what that should look like. And frankly, I think the elementary schools do this.
As we talked about yesterday, I think there are multiple opportunities for students K-8 to have those experience here, and I think as previous referenced, a lot of this had been talked about in IHCD. This policy had been updated to include elementary and middle school, and is not a policy that we previously had. And this is a policy that is required by law. So as we go through this and as we talk about the nuances of it, we're adopting the NHSBA version of this entire policy.
So I know a lot of the stuff that's listed here, like career awareness, interactive activities, and community engagement. My children went all the way through Nashua schools, and so did yours. And I feel like this was normal part of their elementary experience. Same thing in the middle school, like the career exploration, and even CTE exploration. We had people visiting the middle schools when my kids were in middle
In the
school.
past, we have, yes.
So, I think it's a good thing to do, so I'm glad it's in a policy. All right, so I move to approve the new policy IKFG as presented this evening.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's it from last month. The new stuff this month is JFABD, Admission of Homeless Children and Unaccompanied Youth. So we just did this policy last summer, and you'll see that there's no red in your packet because the School Board Association had a policy for this with updates, and it expanded what we had, and I just liked it better.
I think to Ms. Raymond's point, I think, one of the things that the NHSBA has kind of brought some more consistency with how the policies are written. And I think as we kind of looked what the policy we had before in the NHSBA updated policy, we had a lot embedded in there. Ours was a lot more narrative. The new policy was kind of broken up by topics, by letter, and I think it allowed you to see some things more clearly. So as we got into kind of comparing it, like it was all there. A lot of things we wanted to make sure were continued to be in there. We kind of talked, and we both were in agreement if we could adopt the the new policy, the NHSBA version. It's cleaner. In addition, we've had some audits from the New Hampshire Department of Education. And we wanted to make sure, and we had made some updates to this policy previously. So we also, Ms. Kinsella and I went back and made sure the changes that we made previously are incorporated into what we are now recommending as the updated policy.
So I did have a question, because when we were reviewing the two, we used homeless liaison or homeless youth quite a bit in our previous policy. This policy uses both homeless and McKinney-Vento. And so I'm not sure, what do we call our homeless liaison? Are they the McKinney-Vento liaison in Nashua? It's semantics, but I'm just curious.
It is semantics, and I think it kind of interchangeable between McKinney-Vento homeless liaison or the homeless liaison. I think it is used in a variety of different ways, and we have utilized it as such. I think as we talked about previously, it's making sure, one of the things that we wanted to put in, and I'm gonna kind of fast forward a little bit, Ms. Raymond, is kind of, and when you look at Part G, is kind of how the homeless liaison is gonna work with have some trainings or a training and updates with the superintendent and building principals at least once a year on all these laws, because the laws and regulations, they change pretty significantly. And again, it really impacts, those students who are in those buildings. So I think that was a big piece of it. And then the appeal process, and I think that's why you see JFABD R1 and R2, and we'll get into that after for the next upcoming policies.
Okay, and just, I realize that I've gotten to the point now where I just use these acronyms and names without explaining them. So the McKinney-Vento Homeless Education Act is a federal statute that governs how all school districts have to handle students who become homeless or who enter the district homeless. And I remember when I was a social worker in New York State, I'm gonna date myself, over 20 years ago, navigating McKinney-Vento rules and what to do. So, and I think it can get really complicated, especially as everyone knows, homelessness is up in New Hampshire higher than, it's increasing more rapidly here in New Hampshire than it is in any other state in the country. And so it is impacting our students and the students across the state more and more every year. And it can get really complex if a family becomes homeless and their closest relative that they can stay with is in Manchester or Dover, to try and figure out what's in the best interest of the child.
You brought up a great point. The best interest determination meetings are so important. Working with the other districts of transportation, other services that students may need. So it's not an easy conversation, and I think having this in place allows us to have some of those conversations. So we've had many of these meetings over the course of this last year, particularly as it pertains to, I know we've had multiple conversations about the cost of transportation, but this has certainly been an integral part of the conversations of transportation, who's responsible because of how much transportation costs have gone up.
Yeah. And yeah, I know, my heart goes out to any family who experiences that. And I think it's really important that we have clear, consistent policies to help make sure that we are treating everyone fairly and that our focus remains on what's best for each individual child. So, do you have any questions or thoughts, Mr. Johnson?
No, I read it over. It seems pretty concise and definitely covers. I don't see any gaps with it, where someone would fall through.
Okay. The only question that I had, and it's in this policy, but I think it will come up in the next ones as well, is about the appeal. So it says that that there must be a written notice. So if the superintendent makes a decision about a student that the family disagrees with, it says that you have to, the parent must file a written dispute request or a dispute resolution appeal with the school, the homeless liaison, or the superintendent. Does that have to be these forms, or can it be an email or a handwritten letter?
It could be both. I think we kept this in there just for documentation purposes. I think as you get into this process, it's so important that you have the documentation. I think when we see the forms, we're going to show there's some checkoffs about did you receive A, B, and C, and did you go through that process? And I think that's one of the reasons why we added those in there for that documentation piece. But I think to go back to your original comment about the appeal process, it has to start with the McKinney-Vento homeless liaison. If there's disagreement, then that goes to the superintendent. If there's still disagreement, then that goes to the state.
Okay. I'm thinking that if you become homeless, the last thing you have is, your laptop to access the internet, to find the form, and then a printer to print it out. Like, these aren't things that people in crisis have access to.
And that's why it's written into the policy that the McKinney-Vento homeless liaison must work with the family if there's a dispute and go through that process with them step by step.
Okay, great.
Well, that's also changing with homeless, that sometimes you still have your phone, you still have,
Right.
you still have access even without, without a home.
Right, but I'm just thinking like printing,
Sure.
I think so many families who aren't homeless don't have printers or the ability to print at home anymore.
No, it's become it's become unnecessary. One quick question with with that being discussed was the appeal A. It says conference may be held telephonically. Should that also be like internet access, like if it's a Zoom or anything like that? Or is telephonically covering all forms?
Mr. Where is that again? I'm sorry.
That's the 3 appeal to superintendent, level 2, A. It says upon request of the parent or unaccompanied youth, this conference may be held telephonically. It's about the,
Oh, yeah.
I think it's trying to provide options based upon kind of what Ms. Raymond was just, what is the most convenient and easiest way to do that? Maybe it might be because they have a cell phone, they can do it via a cell phone conference.
Right.
They might not have, might not be able to do it in a Zoom or a virtual type of meeting. So just providing those options that work for all parties involved.
okay.
Okay. All right, so based on that, I'm going to move that we approve JFABD, admission of homeless children and unaccompanied youth as it was presented tonight.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And then we have two attachment policies. The first one is JFABD-R1, which I think this is brand new to our district. And this is completed by a school district. This is not for parents, correct?
That's correct. So this would be, is if the McKinney-Vento liaison was working with a family and a decision was made, as they enrolled, that they the request for McKinney-Vento enrollment was denied. So that's that first step, and to Ms. Raymond's point, we did not have this previously, but by adding this, I think the next piece makes a little bit more sense, because that's now the written appeal process, and on the back of JFABDR2, the parent has the check off of talking about, I have received a written explanation, I have received the contact information, copy of the state's enrollment dispute, et cetera. So I think it just keeps everyone on task of what the job is and the documentation that has to be provided for all parties involved.
Okay, so this first form, JFABDR1, is a form that the school district must fill out and provide to that family.
That's correct.
Okay, so I think that's good, and I'm glad that you're adding it. Mr. Johnson, do you have questions or comments?
No questions on that.
All right, so I move that we approve JFABD-R1. I do have one more question, though. If you second, I'll have one more question.
Oh, okay, I'll second.
And then, can this be given, like, what if the family is not physically here in Nashua? Is this something that can be emailed?
It could be, and it's also something that, there's usually a, corresponding district, that who we're working with. So our McKinney-Vento homeless liaison working with the other district's McKinney-Vento homeless liaison.
Right, so the other district could deliver this to them.
That's exactly right.
Okay, good. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, so that passes as well. And then the next one is the R2 version, which we have crossed out everything that was there and had something a little bit more specific, which is great. What happens if the parent hasn't been provided with all of these things, or they've lost them, or?
It could be I think that's when the state could get involved and do an investigation of what is the documentation process, what has been provided, and that's why a dispute may get to that level.
Okay. So if they're not checking off these things, that's when you start looking into make sure that the process was followed properly.
Correct. I think to your original point, the goal is to make sure we want the students in school, we want them taken care of, but again, we do have to make sure we're going through the process of the whole investigation and what that's involved with. And again, if there is disputes, there are safeguards in place to protect both parties for the next steps as part of the investigation process.
Gotcha. And I see there's a section that says the school provided me with a copy of this form when submitted. So as the family is talking to the McKinney-Vento or the homeless liaison, and they're saying, listen, I'm filling out this form, here's my form, the school must photocopy it and give it to them.
That's right.
Okay, good. I mean, I don't know where you keep all of your papers when you're homeless, but I think it's important that we at least give them every opportunity to have everything they need.
And is this given digitally as well? I mean, digital and hard copy, or?
I think it's a matter of what works with that family. I think it's, to the point that's been made, I think a lot of it's going to be hard copy, and then copies will be made from that.
Yeah.
But I think that's why, going to go back to, the importance of the role of the homeless liaison, right? They're really working as their liaison. Even if there's a dispute, we're still obligated to work with that family so that we can find some type of mediation within the dispute and what that middle ground would be.
Yep.
Okay. And then are our homeless liaison positions, I should probably might have to wait until we have Mr. Bowers, but do you know if they're both filled?
They are.
All right, fantastic. All right, so I move that we approve JFABDR2 as presented.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, great. So that is all. We could have packed more stuff in.
I know. We could have. Did not think this was going to go that quickly.
I did not either. So just quickly, because I know it's the last Tuesday before school starts next week. We have, as Mr. Poska said, a whole bunch of policy updates coming in the next couple of months. based on the laws that were passed this legislative session and signed by Governor Ayotte. There'll probably be some more in the fall as well. I think the next two most time-critical ones for September or October are going to be based on the Parental Bill of Rights. There's a couple tweaks to some policies we have already. And then SB 97 changed how districts have to handle parental requests for school variances if they happen before July 1st. So it won't really change anything for this school year, but it will change stuff for people
For upcoming.
asking for next school year. So we want to make sure that we get that information posted. And then the rest of it, I think, we're just going to go with what we're ready for. Yeah?
Yes, I'm sorry, I was closing out one of the policies. In policy, it's going to be policy AB, the parental rights. Ironically, it has about 19 updates within the policy. There's a lot to kind of chew on. When I met with Ms. Raymond before, one of the things I share with her is that I didn't feel comfortable in owning the policy yet and kind of still going through it, which is why I asked if we could try to push this off until at least September so we can get a better understanding of it. There was just a recent webinar provided by one of our attorneys that we work with, so we went to that to try to get some clarity on some things. So looking to have some more updates, not only for the committee, but also to share with our buildings and our principals about the next steps with things that we have to do.
Yep. And so, some of the other new required policies are on homework. We don't have a homework policy that is district-wide here in Nashua. We let our teachers have latitude and discretion over that, but there is now, under the 306, is a requirement that we make some sort of policy. There's some updated to graduation requirements, which is important that we get hammered out. I don't think it will impact anyone being able to graduate in the spring, but we want to make sure that we've got it up there.
When would that, when would that come into effect? Would it be kids coming in as freshmen this year, or would it,
So the changes to the 306s make the state requirements less stringent than our local requirements.
Okay.
So that'll be a fun discussion for the future.
And I do believe there's some impact on some of our Nashua Center for Lifelong Learning impact because of the compliance. And there's a little bit different between, an adult ed diploma and a regular diploma. So I think that's some of the conversations we're going to have as well.
Yep. Okay.
And then there's updates to JIC under the 306s, and that's our discipline policy. So we have to open that one up, and I hate opening JIC because it's like a can of worms. So that one will be coming up as well. And that one is about having verbal options for behavior code violations, which is an interesting change. So there's a bunch. It'll be exciting. As always, if you have things that you want us to work on, please email me. If anybody in the public or on the board has stuff that they would like policy to think about, email me as well. And we will, or email boe@nashua.edu, and I will add it to our substantial list. Anything else? No? All right, fantastic. So the next Board of Ed meeting is Monday, right before school starts. And I'm just going to put the plug in here because I'm here and I have a microphone in front of me. Thursday is Nashua Goes Back to School Night at the library. My kids and I volunteered this morning, sorting some school supplies that will be handed out. But really the focus of it is so that families and students can come and meet their school principals and vice principals and connect with community resources. There'll be people there for applying for free and reduced lunch. If you qualify for free and reduced lunch, you also can qualify for discounts on your busing in high school, on playing sports and the sports fees. So it's really worthwhile to stop by, meet people, and fill out forms. So I didn't make it sound exciting. There'll be popcorn and snow cones, and I think there's a food truck that's going to be there. It's more fun than I made it sound. So that's all I got.
It should be a good time.
All right, so motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, great. And we are adjourned at 6:44 PM.